Hi there, I'm Aly Elliott.
Hi everybody, I'm Aly Elliott. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am continuing the Hiraeth series today, the stories behind the images, the stories behind the children. And today we're going to continue with Avery. I met Avery's mama on Miss, the same way I met a lot of the families that participated in Hiraeth. And we were all each other's lifelines. You know, I've said that part of the story the same way so many times. And Avery's one of these babies that I feel like I know. I know that face. I can picture it right now. I will always be able to picture it, and I will always remember her story, and she'll have a special place in my heart the same way all the Hiraeth stories will, but Avery would regardless, just through knowing her mother and knowing her story, knowing her family. And I feel really grateful to have had this opportunity to get to meet them in person and to get to compose her image with her story in it. This was one of those things we were passing through when we were able to get our schedules together, and it was in a hotel parking lot. So we just kind of had to work with what we were able to get, and we had a beautiful day. It was windy. This was actually, weirdly enough, this hotel parking lot, I photographed two of the Hiraeth images in the same parking lot a year apart. And Tiffany was the first, and then Avery's family was the second. Kennedy was Tiffany's mom, or that's backwards. Tiffany was Kennedy's mom, and I photographed them, and then the next year when we came back, my kids were in a tournament, and we stayed at the same hotel, in that same hotel parking lot. Up on a little hill, I was able to photograph Avery's family for her image. And I had kind of an idea of what I wanted to do. So, You Are My Sunshine, that song, you know, that a lot of us sing to our children. And that was one of the songs that Avery loved. And the concept that I developed for Avery, I wanted a scene like you have here that is kind of a nondescript. It could be sunrise, it could be sunset. There are stars in the sky, there's the moon, but like it's in between. And I wanted to depict that in some of the Hiraeth images, the in between, because as bereaved families, we often feel in between. We have this connection to the other side that's hard to even verbalize. And I wanted to put it in there visually. It's something that you wouldn't necessarily notice if you haven't had that feeling. So I'm here to tell you about it. But it's part day and it's part night, and it's this limbo. And I wanted to depict that visually. That was important to me. And this scene, her having the song, You Are My Sunshine, just made sense. And I didn't want to make it too much, too obvious, too contrived. I wanted it to be something that you searched for. And that's what we did with the moon. The lighting, I wanted the moon to be the source of the lighting with just some kind of dappled sprinkles of the sun back behind there. And you can see Avery tucked into the moon. No matter how I built, so just as a refresher, if you're new to the Hiraeth series, or you're new to watching the stories behind the images, the way I created each of the children, I would age them from the age when they passed to the age that they would be when we photographed them. And I did that in a variety of ways. I used images of the children before they passed. I used the parents' childhood images sometimes, and I used the siblings. And for the majority of the Hiraeth images, I used the siblings and built their brother or sister out of pieces of them, which is also not only visually What I use, but it's symbolic too, because these bereaved siblings carry around their brothers and sisters every day, whether they know it or not, or whether they think about it or not. They are very much a part of this legacy. And Avery, I'm going to read first of all what her mama wrote. As far as I filled out a questionnaire, or I sent a questionnaire to all the families to fill out and ask them some questions to kind of help me finish the editing, to finish telling their story. And I asked the key physical attributes that they felt like their child would have. I know I have, most of the time I have a strong image in my head of what Keely would look like now. And I know the other bereaved parents do. Some ages it's stronger than others. And sometimes it's hard to picture it. And as Keely would be 15 this year, and she'd be at that age that, they want to do their own thing and they surprise you. And I try to keep that in mind, but every once in a while, a piece of clothing in a store, something will catch my eye and I'll just feel it. I'll feel like, oh, that might be her. That might be what she'd like. And just like a little wink. And I look for those winks. But I wanted to know if there was something constant, something consistent that the families picture for their children if they were alive today. I imagine Avery to look just like my other girls. Brown hair, brown eyes, perfect. But what if she were my little girl with blue eyes like her dad and brother? I have a hard time imagining that. Her sisters look so much alike, it's hard to imagine anything else. So as I mentioned, I used the living siblings to build the sibling, their missing brother or sister, to the age that they'd be now. And I take in mind how old they would be, where they would be at in their growth, how their bone structure would mature, those kinds of things. I was very meticulous in building each of these faces in particular. With Avery, I built her a few different ways, and she just kept coming out the same look, the same way. So I think that is a sign that, that's maybe a little wink. That's one of those winks that I look for. And that's the way that she was meant to be portrayed in this image. And I did have her eyes closed. She's resting in the reflection of the moon. And so I didn't have an eye color. And I got this after her image was mostly complete. So whenever that happened, then I felt like, that's perfect. And it felt very out of my hands. And a lot of this felt out of my hands, that it was just meant to be that way. So the overall composition just turned out to be a wide panoramic image, and this really represented for me that limbo that we feel. But she's also a huge part of the image. So even though the living children are far away from the sun as we see it, there is a huge void between them that's filled with her, that's filled with Avery, and she's closer than it appears, if that is making sense. It makes sense to me. But that is the overall feeling. There is a butterfly. If you zoom in there, in the ripples of the water of the reflection, there's a butterfly. Like many of us, butterflies symbolize a little visit and help. They don't help us because we don't need help remembering, but they're a little whisper and a little hello. And every time I see a butterfly, that's just like a little kiss from heaven. And so I wanted to definitely have a butterfly in there. I tried to incorporate a turkey because I'll read this from her mama. I always called her Turkey Girl because of the way she would pull her legs up under her when she was having tummy time, and she looked like a Thanksgiving turkey. Now, I didn't fit an actual turkey in there, but I did kind of, the way the children are reflected and them, it's kind of a turkey shape. And that's the best I could do without having a silhouetted turkey. running across the moon. But that's one of those things you're definitely not going to see. You might not even see it after I'm telling you about it, but it's in there, and it was in there with intention. I will read now what Avery's mama wrote that is in the Hiraeth book. Avery's story is a sad one that could have been avoided. Every day I wish I could have just kept her home from that daycare, from the careless person I trusted with my baby. I miss my girl and what she would be. Every milestone her older sister and younger siblings reach are so bittersweet. The missed first days of school, the band concerts, the plays. Would she be my sporty one? I think I miss her more today than in the beginning, but in a much different way. I'm thankful for the few short months we were given and the way the whole family loved her while she was here. And Avery's mom put that beautifully, those milestones that we might take for granted if we hadn't been missing our other children, and all those little moments that we'll miss, the everyday stuff with our with the boys and girls that we're missing. And I'm so grateful to Avery's family for sharing this with us, for sharing her story and sharing Avery. And I feel like she's one of Keely's friends. And, you know, the families have each other down here, and we're grateful for that. And always grateful for Miss and the lifeline that they provide. We will continue Hiraeth with Boone in the next video. And I hope you join me. I look forward to it, sharing a little bit more of these babies and their stories and their images, and all the little things that I tried to incorporate to bring their stories to life. So join us back here. Make sure that you follow along. Subscribe here on YouTube, and you'll get a notification every time I upload. Thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful day.
That's why I do my mommy.